Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Romans chapter 4 through 9. And I'll be honest, I don't know where this one's going to go today. I spent about 4 hours in this read and in this study, looking some things up, making a lot of notes. And, this revelation is, chapter 4, the common theme was worshiping God in heaven. This is what John was saying. And then chapter 5 was pretty much the same. It was creatures and angels and elders all worshiping God, and the worship progressed and grew as this revelation unfolded. And then we get into 6 through 10, and it's talking about the seven trumpets that these seven angels are going to open. And this is the big revelation of the end of times for the creation as we know it. And this, to me, is so much bigger than any kind of law enforcement takeaway. I didn't see anything specific for law enforcement. This is so much greater than just any one, profession on earth or any. This is just. I hope you read it, and I hope if you did, you understand what I'm talking about. This is really overwhelming, the 5 chapters that we were in today, actually 6 chapters that we were in today. Not that it wasn't great information, but it's mysterious and it can be confusing, and there's a lot of symbolism mixed in with a lot of hardcore physical prophecies that are actually going to occur. So you read and you're like, okay, is this actually going to happen the way it said it, or is this symbolic of something else? And it's an incredible read, and I don't know that any man can just read it and explain but explain all the things that are in the 7 trumpets, because we actually only got through 6 trumpets. The 7th trumpet will be in tomorrow's read, but we got through 6 trumpets. And I guess what we can do is just kind of break down the 6 trumpets, or not the 6 trumpets, the 7 seals. We get through 6 of the seals. There's this book, and it's got seals on it, kind of like locks. And Jesus is the only one that's able to open up this book. And Jesus opens up this first lock to reveal, like, chapter 1 is locked up, and he unlocks it so we can see chapter 1. And this first seal, this first chapter, as we look at it, it's interesting because it's accompanied by one of the 4 creatures. So the first 4 seals that are unlocked that we're able to see, John's invited to look at them, at the vision, by one of the 4 creatures. So as we go along, we'll see these groups of 7 are broken into a group of 4 and a group of 3. The seals are broken into 4 invitations from the creatures, and 3 that don't have the creatures involved at all. And then when we get to the 7th seal, it's broken into trumpets. There's 7 trumpets inside the 7th seal. And then the last 3 trumpets inside the 7th seal, it kind of divides the 7 trumpets up. 4 don't have woes, and the last 3 have woes. So this 7th is broken into 4 and 3, just like this first one's broken into 4 and 3. And again, unless you got a scorecard, it's hard to keep up with the trumpets and the seals, or the seals and the trumpets and the woes and the angels. Man, there's so many angels. There's 4 that hold back wind, and there's 4 that they're locked into the great river Euphrates. And it is an incredible read that you could spend days and weeks on with a notebook, just taking notes. And we see the golden altar in chapter 6, and then we see it again in chapter 8, and then we see it again where the martyrs are under it. And then it's got a lot of symbolism in it. There's an intermission between the 6th seal and the 7th seal. that explains to us the 144,000 that are sealed with the seal on their forehead. It's the seal of God. And it's interesting because there's an angel that comes from the rising of the sun, and this angel has the seal of God. He's like the official seal bearer of God, and he goes out and gives this seal to the forehead of 144,000. Now, 144 is 12 times 12. We have 12 tribes of Israel, and there's 1,200 from each tribe that makes up the 144,000. These are also the bond servants. Remember how we talked yesterday about Peter and Paul and James and Jude and John all call themselves bond servants of God? That introduction as they write their Bible or write their chapter of the Bible, their letters. That bondservant is mentioned in chapter 7, verse 3, that these bondservants are going to be the 144,000 who are sealed. And when they get sealed by God, these, the first woe is this flying scorpion with a sword and a shield and a crown, and he torments men for 5 months. But he torments, and it's like the most evil creature ever, and it chases men, and it stabs them, and it stings them, and it's just horrific. But if you're sealed, if you're one of the 144,000, you don't get tormented by these things. It's overwhelming. It's amazing. It's an incredible read, and it's something that can't be explained in 6 or 8 or 10 minutes. So if you haven't read it, I hope you get a chance to. Pay attention to the numbers, but don't just look at the numbers. The numbers are important, but it's not the message. The numbers aren't the message. They are important. They're symbolic. They're important. I said that. It's just anyway. Where we finished today in chapter. Well, we finished in chapter 10, but chapter 9 talks about the 6th trumpet of the 7th seal and the second woe. It makes you wonder if that 762 number is ever going to be important. There's a 751. There'll be a 773 number. Just important stuff. I did want to mention real quick, there's one part where it says that there's 4 angels that at one point will hold back the wind. And this is it's just a part of it, but I've always wondered what that meant. I was like, okay, so I'm living at home and the wind's not blowing. Big deal. What does that mean? Well, I got curious and I went and researched it. Wind is how God moves water around the earth. If we have no wind, we have no rain. And places that are like in the middle of the United States that don't have lakes or rivers or ponds nearby, maybe 20 miles to the nearest body of water, plants and animals and human beings will die without wind in those areas. So when he holds back the wind, that is huge. And in all my years past, I've just kind of glanced over that going, so what? There's no wind. But today that was revelatory for me personally in this study to see how important the wind is. Water moves by wind, period. I mean, yes, water will move downstream, but it's just moving from one body of water to another. And in the middle, there's a body of water called the river. But places that don't have rivers or ponds or lakes, they only get their water by the wind. It's really cool. Anyway, tomorrow we're in Revelations chapter 10 through 14. There's only 4 chapters instead of 6, so there ought to be a little bit more time to get some takeaways from it. This was a great read. I hope you got into it. Anyway, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.